This is the fuel injection. So a classic Porsche 911 Targa, and this car actually has some interesting features to it, but I'm going to tell you about that later on. First of all, we have to put the car on a lift because we're going to completely dry ice clean the underside and protect it against rust, so it will live longer, maybe forever. So we're going to first put the car on the lift and see what we actually have. So the car is completely dry ice cleaned now, and now it is time to treat all the rust and put some wax on it. We found some rust spots. There's no welding needed, but some areas that need some attention. So the exhaust was also quite rusty, so we completely sanded it down. They come actually with a zinc coating on it from factory. So we applied the same coating again on the underside of the exhaust. The last part we're gonna now restore as well and make it absolutely super shiny. Now it is time to completely wax the car and protect it. So we're going to put 2 layers of clear wax on the car, and between the waxes we have to wait a few hours, maybe a day. I think in this case a day at least, before we apply the second one. And then we're going to treat the hollow spaces with grease. So guys, we're going to protect the hollow spaces of the Porsche with grease, and it's just not normal grease. Actually it is normal grease, but the most hollow space protection you could buy is in spray cans or little cans, and these are always diluted. And they do that because it is easy to apply. This stuff is actual grease, as you can see. And diluted wax and grease is okay, because you can actually easily apply it, and that's the whole reason why they do it. So the grease that is diluted will get hard at some point. And when that happens, it will crack, and through the cracks moisture or water comes, and then it will start rusting. But this stuff never ever dries out. It will be forever good. But the problem with this is that it is very, very hard to apply. It's an absolute nightmare to apply, actually, and that's also the reason why nobody is doing it. We actually have to heat it up to 100 degrees or 120, then we have to put it in the spray can, and then we have to spray it in the hollow spaces. But in the meantime, it gets sometimes hard, and then the spray will clog up, and then you have to heat up the spray, and it is just a complete nightmare. But we are actually going to the struggle of applying this for the best protection possible. So let's start. And next to the hollow spaces, we also put some grease on spots that are highly likely to rust quickly. So there is where they tend to rust quite quickly. The jacking point is also a spot where they rust quite often. And one other space is up there. You see here these compartments, and these are actually for the batteries. So these old 911s have, for weight distribution, 2 batteries on both sides, and therefore are these compartments basically. So we put some extra grease on the edges up there. And also on top you may see the area of the headlights basically. These are also areas from the 911 that tend to rust quite quickly. So we put all around the headlight unit, we put some grease as well. These are areas here they rust quite quickly, so we also put some grease up there. And on top, these are all areas these 911s tend to rust more often. We're going to put the wheels on and wash the car because it's very dirty and greasy, and we have to clean it up. So as you already saw, it is a real classic 911, to be exact, from 1972. And the 72 models are quite special. They have one little feature which is quite unusual, I would say. And the 1972 cars are the only ones with a little flap up here. And these flaps are not to fill up petrol. You actually could fill up the oil here. And they also called the Ölklapper. This is a spot basically where a lot of cars have the fuel cap, and it looks quite similar as well. So what happened that many people filled up their oil system with fuel. So you maybe can think what's happening then. The engine will completely destroy. And that happened quite often. So they said after 1 year we're going to skip this whole thing. And we had to do it on the old-fashioned. So the old-fashioned way was basically going in the engine bay and filling up the oil there. So that was not the best idea they had. Many engines broke down because of this. For the people that are not really deep into the classic Porsches, this is an F model type. So the F model type, they built those from, I think, 65 until 73. This one is 72. F model type cars are mostly recognizable with the blinkers inside the fenders. That's the main feature you can differentiate the F model. The later models, which are the G models, and after G model 964, 993, but that's for later. This is the F model. So in the beginning 70s, this F model which you could buy in 3 versions. One was the T, and the T was basically the touring version, and that was the base model you could buy with 125 brake horsepower. But that was actually a little bit more later, and one step up you had the E, and the E was standing for Einspritzung. Einspritzung in German is fuel injection, and that one had 155 brake horsepower, and the top model, which is this, the S, the 911S, had 185 brake horsepower, and that was the most expensive one with the most options as standard. And in 72 they upgraded the engine from 2.2 to 2.4. So in 72 they all had a little bit more horsepower, and this one actually has 190 compared with before they had 185. So a little bit more and a little bit faster. And that was the upgrade from 2.2 to 2.4. So when you bought the S version, you actually had an S front bumper with a little spoiler lip underneath. The 911S also had standard these aluminium wheels, these Fuchs aluminium wheels, 15 inch. The S had aluminium brake calipers as standard. I don't know if it was an option for the other models, I don't believe it, but I'm not completely sure. And then you see these chrome rocker panels. This is something which is for me a little bit confusing. So far as I know, this was standard to the S and an option for the other models. But if you look online, most of these cars, nearly all of them, have these chrome bits underneath. So either way, everyone took the option, or people just like it and put it on. As I just told you, these cars are made from 65 somewhere to 73. But in those years, you actually have one big difference as well, and that is the short wheelbase and the long wheelbase. And the later one were a long wheelbase as this one. I believe the short wheelbase was made to 68 or 69, I believe until 68, not completely sure. But the main thing, how you can recognize the two, is these holes. The short wheelbase had actually the holes really next to the wheel arch, directly next to it, maybe this much next to it. And the long wheelbase has quite a little space between it. And that's the main reason how you can recognize the short wheelbase and the long wheelbase. So the 911S from 1972 had a standard and extra oil cooler in front of the fender, and the oil lines were running from the engine to the front to the side here. You can actually see them from outside the car. As I just told you, the S and the E were fuel injection, and the fuel injection was actually a mechanical system from Bosch, and you can see that up there. This is the fuel injection sitting down there basically. And with the normal models, you actually had to fill up the oil here in the corner. You only see here the oil filter, and later on in 73 you also had to fill up the oil down there. If you want to see more videos, please like and subscribe. And don't forget to push the bell button so that you don't miss any future videos. So thank you for watching, and see you next time.